In the ancient village of Arinder, carved into cliffs where the sea sang its endless ballad, Eloria tended the scriptorium, a cavernous hall of weathered stone, its walls lined with scrolls that whispered tales of gods, heroes, and storms. Her days were spent copying sagas, her quill gliding over vellum, the air thick with ink and salt. Eloria, 23, with auburn hair in a loose braid and eyes like pale jade under dawnlit waves, was known for her quiet grace. The villagers revered her as the keeper of stories, but none saw the dreams she hid, locked in her heart like a scroll in a sealed chest. Eloria was born during a rare lunar eclipse, a child of prophecy in Arinder's lore, destined to preserve the village's tales. Her mother, a scribe, taught her the art of vellum and quill, but died when Eloria was 10, leaving her to the scriptorium's solitude. Raised by the village elders, she found solace in stories, crafting secret parchments of a love she'd never known, inspired by tales of star-crossed heroes. Her quiet demeanor hid a fear of rejection, a belief that her heart's words were too fragile for the world. Arinder revered the sea as a deity, offering shells and woven nets at the Tide Festival to appease its spirits. The pyre spire, a stone pillar on the highest cliff, burned nightly, its flame a prayer for safe voyages. The scriptorium, sacred to the god of tales, was where villagers left offerings, carved shells, dried kelp for wisdom. Eloria, as scribe, was both revered and isolated, seen as a bridge to the divine. The flame could only mean the pyre spire. Eloria tucked the scroll into her cloak and climbed the winding path, her boots crunching on frost-kissed stones. The storm had calmed, leaving the air heavy with salt and mystery. At the spire's base, beneath the fire's glow, stood Theron, a wanderer returned after a decade abroad. His dark hair was streaked with silver, his sapphire eyes deep as the evening sea, his cloak dusty from distant lands. He turned, his face a map of surprise and hope. "You answered," he said, his voice soft as the sea's murmur. "This called me," Eloria replied, holding the scroll, its star sigil glinting. "Did you write it?" Theron's gaze softened. "I did, long ago, before I left Arinder. I sealed it in that coffer, a fool's confession, and cast it to the waves. I never thought it would find you." Theron, born to a carver, was a dreamer in a village of pragmatists. As a boy, he carved shells with intricate patterns, leaving them for Eloria, too shy to speak his love. At 17, a raid by sea marauders took his father, and guilt drove him to wander, seeking redemption in distant lands. He carried a coffer of scrolls, each confessing his love for Eloria, but fear kept them hidden. Returning to Arinder, he cast them to the sea, believing his chance lost. They sat on the spire's steps, the fire's warmth battling the night's chill. Theron spoke of watching Eloria read to children, her voice weaving magic. He'd written scores of scrolls, confessions he lacked courage to voice, bound in the coffer through deserts and mountains. The sea, it seemed, had its own plans. Why keep them silent? Eloria asked, her voice trembling. "I thought you'd see only the boy who carved shells," Theron said. "My words felt too small for your heart." Eloria's smile was faint, like moonlight on water. "I saw you, Theron. Your shells, etched with my name. I wondered, but you vanished." His breath caught, his face flushed. "You knew." "I hoped," she said, her jade eyes soft. Corinne, a wealthy shipwright's son, sought Eloria's hand, urged by Elder Vena, who believed Eloria's destiny lay in uniting with Arinder's strongest family. Corinne, brash and proud, left gifts of polished coral, but Eloria's heart remained untouched. His jealousy grew as Theron's presence stirred whispers, setting a tension that threatened their bond. Over months, Eloria and Theron met at the pyre spire each twilight. Eloria read his faded scrolls, her voice trembling as she spoke his love aloud. Theron shared tales of cities carved from cliffs, rivers of fire, and the loneliness that haunted him. Eloria revealed her own parchments, stories of a love she'd felt but never named. One evening, Corinne confronted them, his eyes cold. "A wanderer's words mean nothing," he sneered. Eloria's resolve hardened, her hand brushing Theron's in defiance. Eloria grappled with self-doubt, fearing her role as scribe bound her to solitude. Theron's scrolls stirred hope, but Corinne's warnings and Vena's disapproval made her question her worth. A night of confession, where she admitted her fear of being unloved, marked a turning point, Theron's reassurance strengthening her courage. Theron carried guilt for abandoning Arinder after his father's death, believing he'd failed his village. Eloria's acceptance of his scrolls healed his shame, each meeting a step toward forgiving himself. His vow to stay was as much for her as for his own redemption. The Tide Festival saw Arinder adorned with kelp garlands, villagers dancing to bone flutes under torchlight. Eloria and Theron joined, their presence a quiet rebellion against Vena's disapproval. Children wove nets, inspired by Theron's carvings, their laughter a hymn to the sea. One dusk, Eloria handed Theron a scroll. "I've written too," she said, her fingers trembling. He read, "I have loved you in the shadows, waiting for courage." His sapphire eyes widened. "Eloria, you were my star in every sky." She stepped closer, her hand finding his. "And you were my tale." A prophecy warned of a great storm, threatening Arinder's cliffs. Theron, using skills from his travels, rallied villagers to reinforce the spire, proving his worth. Eloria scribed warnings, her words uniting the village. Their teamwork silenced Vena's doubts, cementing their bond. Arinder hummed with their love. Eloria's laughter filled the scriptorium, Theron taught carving, and they crafted tales together. At the Tide Festival under torchlight, Theron led Eloria to the spire steps. "I have no more scrolls to hide," he said. "But I have a vow." "Speak it," Eloria whispered, her jade eyes locked on his. "I vow to stay, to weave our tale in every star's light." Her smile was a beacon. "And I vow to love you in every word." They kissed, the pyre's flame merging their shadows. The sea roared, stars burned brighter, and Arinder's cliffs held their story, a tale of two hearts united by the parchment of whispered tides. Years later, the scriptorium became a sanctuary, drawing pilgrims. The coffer, a relic, reminded all that a scroll cast to the sea could find home, carried by courage.